Pele has one of the most emotional and inspiring life story of any football player. Keep watching to find out exactly what in Pele's childhood shaped him to be one of the best players of all time. The story starts in Tres Corazones, where Pele was born Edson Arantes do Nascimento on the 23rd of October 1940. His mother was a housewife and his family lived in complete poverty. At a very young age, Edson moved to Sao Paulo, where he would spend the majority of his life. His family gave him the nickname Dico, which means son of a warrior. Edson's dad, also known as Dondinho, was considered by many a warrior on the pitch as he was brave and a skillful footballer for the Brazilian side Fluminense. Even though he didn't make much impression like his son, he did something his son wasn't able to be in his legendary career. You'll get to know that later though. Dondinho taught his son football, but he could not afford a proper ball and usually played with either a sock stuffed with newspaper and then tied with a string, or a grapefruit. Dondinho taught Edson how to pass accurately, perform dribble arts, use shoulder feint to leave defenders for dead, and change pace quickly to outmaneuver defenders. And over and beyond the technical aspect of football, Edson learnt something. He learnt how to be a proper professional while spending time with his father. He derived joy and passion from the playful back and forth exchange he had with his father. Much of his career is incomplete. However, we do know that in roughly 12 years on the dirt football pitches of Brazil, Dondinho managed 893 goals in 775 games, excluding 19 in 6 games for Brazil. Now, this is the record. Dondinho once scored 5 goals with his head in one match. Pele had always aspired to beat this record, but was never able to throughout his career. Dondinho headed goals remain an unofficial world record, and a feat that Pele himself could hardly believe. When asked about it, Pele once said, "Only God can explain how my dad did that." Dondinho was an unknown yet brilliant footballer, and I hope this video has already taught you about a fantastic footballer who is just one reason why Pele became the outstanding footballer we know him as. Dondinho gave his son Edson a love for football, and his training led him to become the best player in his entire school at just 9 years old. Even with his remarkable talents, Edson was still picked on at school, dominantly due to his bad pronunciation. Edson used to pronounce the name of his favourite local Vasco da Gama goalkeeper, Pele, as Pele. His wrong way of pronouncing the name made his classmates mock him, hence they decided to give him the nickname Pele, with little knowledge of its implication to the football community. His classmates never knew it was a golden name. The name was given out of a joke, a name that became the greatest, even greater than 99.9% of names the world has ever known. According to an interview, Pele once said the name was initially a rubbish childhood nickname, which he didn't like. When asked why, this was what he said: "When they started to call me Pele, I didn't want them to. I thought it was a rubbish name. Now you even see it in the Bible. In Hebrew, Pele means miracle. A theologian discovered this and then told me, which means it's there in the Bible." Back when someone said, "Hey Pele," I would shout back and get angry. On one occasion, I punched a classmate because of it and earned a 2-day suspension. This predictably did not have the desired effect. Other kids realised it annoyed me, and so they started calling me Pele even more. Then I realised that it wasn't up to me what I'm called. Now I love the name, but back then, it wound me up no end. As Pele grew a little older, he earned money working in tea shops as a servant in order to contribute to his dream, which was actually to be a pilot. However, this dream was cut short because of a traumatizing moment, but more on that later. Pele's childhood life was balanced between school, his job and football. He played for several amateur teams in his youth, including Sete de Setembro, Canto de Rio, Sao Paulinho and Ameriquinha. Pele led Barro Atletico Club Juniors, which was coached by Waldemar de Brito, to 2 Sao Paulo State Youth Championships. In his mid-teens, he played for an indoor football team called Radium. Indoor football had just become popular in Sao Paulo when Pele began playing it. He was part of the first futsal competition in the region. Pele and his team won the first championship and several others. According to Pele, futsal presented difficult challenges. He said it was a lot quicker than football on the grass, and that players were required to think faster because everyone is so close to each other in the pitch. Pele credits futsal for helping him think better on the spot. In addition, futsal allowed him to play with adults when he was about 14 years old. In one of the tournaments he participated in, he was initially considered too young to play, but eventually went on to end up top scorer with 14 or 15 goals. That gave me a lot of confidence, Pele said. One day, when Pele was at home, an unfortunate incident occurred when a local plane crashed close to his home, killing the pilot and all passengers on board. Pele then visited the hospital to view the autopsy, and upon seeing the pilot's body, he decided that his boyhood dream will cease. Indeed, a career in flying planes was not for him. If not for the plane crash, the football world might not be how it is today. Pele also recounts his mother's support of his childhood ambition to become a professional pilot. Unfortunately, she was not pleased seeing him take football as a career. While playing football in 1956, De Brito took Pele to Santos, an industrial and port city located near Sao Paulo, to try out for professional club Santos FC, telling the directors at Santos that the 15-year-old would be the greatest football player in the world. Pele impressed Santos coach Lula during his trial at the Estadio Vila Belmiro, and he signed a professional contract with the club in June 1956. Pele was highly promoted in the local media as a future superstar. He made his senior team debut on the 7th of September 1956 at the age of 15 against Corinthians de Santo Andre, and had an impressive performance in a 7-1 victory, scoring the first goal in his prolific career during the match. This kicked off the illustrious career of Edson Arantes do Nascimento, or Pele. As we know, during his career, he would win 3 FIFA World Cups, the only player to do so. He was nicknamed the King, and is the joint top scorer for Brazil. At club level, he became Santos' all-time top goal scorer. In a golden era for Santos, he led them to multiple trophies. Also, Pele has been credited with connecting the phrase "the beautiful game" with football. Pele's electrifying play and penchant for spectacular goals made him a star around the world, and his teams toured internationally to take full advantage of his popularity. During his playing days, Pele was for a period the best paid athlete in the world. After retiring in 1977, Pele would become a worldwide ambassador for football and made many acting and commercial ventures. In 2010, he was named the honorary president of the New York Cosmos. Throughout his career and in his retirement, Pele received numerous individual and team awards for his performance on the field, his record-breaking achievements, and his legacy in the sport. Pele continued to be lauded by players, coaches, journalists, and others. Brazilian attacking midfielder Zico, who represented Brazil at the 1978, 82, and 86 World Cups, stated, "This debate about the player of the century is absurd. There's only one possible answer: Pele. He's the greatest player of all time, and by some distance, I might add." French 3-time Ballon d'Or winner Michel Platini said, "There's Pele the man, and then Pele the player. And to play like Pele is to play like God." Diego Maradona, joint FIFA Player of the Century, and the player Pele is historically compared with, stated, "It's too bad we never got along, but he was an awesome player." Real Madrid honorary president and former player Alfredo Di Stefano opined, "The best player ever? Pele. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are both great players with specific qualities, but Pele was better." While this video was in production, Pele unfortunately passed away aged 82. I hope this video showed the determination and love of football that Pele was given and spread to others around the globe. In another video, I discuss Pele's records and go into greater detail and give further unknown information about the career of the icon. May I suggest you watch this video next? Thank you for watching.